Here's what leads for you on all angles at noon. The highly anticipated midterm budget speech will be delivered this afternoon. Budget cuts are expected due to a major revenue shortfall, but the finance minister will have to do a careful juggling act with elections around the corner. Our senior reporter Aviwe Mtila joins us now ahead of the speech. Aviwe, you've been speaking to unions and civil society organizations. What are they expecting ahead of 2 o'clock?
Well, some sort of reprieve, Maseko. It's a tough balancing act, in fact, that the finance minister has to juggle through at 2 o'clock. We do know that government expenditure exceeds revenue by 200 billion rand. So he has indicated just over the weekend, where we were at that inclusive growth forum at the Drakensberg mountains, he suggested there that he might cut expenditure and also go cap in hand in borrowing, because if he doesn't do so by March, the public purse might be depleted. So some tough balancing act. But in speaking to the people on the ground, it started at Brumley, where a small businesses that was doing relatively well at the beginning of the year has had to move shop to a smaller location and also cut employees off, because they can't be sustainable. They're saying that their customers don't have money. In turn, the customers aren't coming to them. If you are to speak to the unions, which we spoke to a bit earlier on, suggestions there is that there is a heavy austerity measures that they expect, something that they are already starting to pick at on in Cape Town, suggesting that they can't have a stalemate when it comes to wage increases. Let's find out what civil society wants now, and I am joined by Wayne Duvenage from the organization Undoing Tax Abuse. Wayne, thank you for joining us at ENC. But midterm budget policy, what are you expecting?
Well, we hope that the minister is going to be serious about cutting costs. We see this year after year. There's talk of reducing the size of cabinet. It is a bloated cabinet with all the deputy ministers as well. So there are ways to cut costs in that space. But talk is cheap. They've not really followed through, other than minor adjustments here and there. And that's where we believe that government needs to be serious about saving. It's like any household, like any business that you're referring to. If you don't have the money, you can't keep borrowing, because the interest rates, and that's what we've got, all this massive debt, and the interest costs are burdening the country. What we need is a government to focus on where's the waste, cut the waste out of the system, and make sure that we're getting all the taxes that we can get. The illicit trade that is going on. We know of organizations that bring in components into the country under different disguises, and government knows about these, and they're not doing enough to stop this, so they're not paying the necessary duties. So there's money that is being wasted on the table that government needs to go and fetch and display that they can do that properly.
Speaking to working class, they suggest that their fears is that, for example, their wages won't go up and costs will be cut when it comes to hospitals, schools, services that the working class needs, instead of increasing the corporate tax. I want your sentiments around that.
Well, I think if you increase corporate tax, you're just going to, it doesn't necessarily bring in more revenue, because all you do is you push the corporate industry away from investing in this country. So we brought the corporate taxes down to where they should be for the right reasons. We are overtaxed as a country. So this is not about trying to push taxes up. The government should be reducing the cost and the expenditure and the wasteful expenditure. We still have state-owned entities. We're going to have to bail out again Eskom. We're going to have to bail out again possibly even SAA. But the Denels of the world, Transnet. So these state-owned entities are in a mess. And every year we know that as government. Why aren't we fixing those state-owned entities to make them efficient, so that we don't have to keep bailing them out? So that's another massive cost. So I think this all points to poor leadership. And, it's an election year next year, and we hope that the minister gets serious and doesn't pander to his cabinet members and the political stresses and strains that will come at him. We need to be serious about saving money now and putting in a real meaningful austerity measures. You can't spend your way out of this. And the problem in the past as well is, and I know that if you do spend on expenditure, capital expenditure, and invest in the country, the problem is we spend far too much than we should. We're getting 1 kilometre of road for 3 that we should get for the price we pay for 1. That type of thing. We're not doing the oversight properly. So we really are wasting our capital expenditure money as well.
And we had the initial budget in February earlier on this year. Promises were made. Have those been met? Have we achieved what was set out back in the initial budget?
Well, certainly not. I mean, there's the shortfall now in revenue, so there's the expectations that we had. I mean, the plans were that we were going to be able to get our expenditure and our borrowings down, but that hasn't happened. Our costs have gone up. We see that that if revenue is going to be short as a result of the constraints that, for instance, Transnet puts on the economy, and we don't fix that, we're never going to get to the position of being able to capitalize on the commodities boom, getting exports of coal and palladium and uranium out of the country. It's not going to happen. So government is not delivering on its promises. It makes a lot of promises, says a lot over the years, but it really doesn't surmount to much.
And then just lastly, what are you expecting 2 p.m. from the Minister himself come 2 o'clock?
Well, I think he's going to try and placate the people, that there are going to be some cuts, some austerity measures, but I think he's also going to indicate that there has to be some level of borrowing, go cap in hand to fetch some money to deal with the shortfall, and there is going to be a shortfall. It's how he manages that and that balancing act that we're looking forward to. But we want to see him, and we're hoping that he's going to be spending a little bit more time specifically on areas where we can cut. Have they identified those areas? Is he going to be serious when he says, has said in the past, we're not going to bail out state-owned entities? Well, let's see now. And I don't think he's going to be able to carry that out.
All right, thank you very much. Wayne Duvenage from the organization Undoing Tax Abuse, hoping that the finance minister and government will be serious by the measures that they say they will take come 2 o'clock. Of course, hoping that the SOEs won't be that bone of contention where once again they'll be going cap in hand to government, and in turn government goes cap in hand, going increasing the debt. Of course, that's already ballooning out of proportions. As of course, finance minister suggesting that if we don't go cap in hand or cut those expenditure measures, come March, the public purse in its entirety will be depleted.